Imagine this. It's 1969 in sunny Pasadena, California. A young Mexican couple bursts into a house, panic written all over their faces. Their son had made a dangerous mistake by stealing jewelry from some mysterious gypsies, and now he's being haunted by spooky, otherworldly things. They rush to a medium, hoping she can save their boy. But what happens next is truly terrifying. During a seance, the boy is suddenly hurled off the balcony by a creepy, invisible force and dragged straight into hell by sinister clawed hands. The medium, shaken but determined, vows to confront this monstrous demon again someday. What a chilling start to an unforgettable story. Fast forward 40 years from that spine-chilling event, and we're in a bustling bank where Christine Brown, a hardworking loan officer, dreams of getting a big promotion. Her boss, Mr. Jax, tells her it's down to her and a new guy named Stu Rubin. To win the job, Christine must show she's not afraid to make tough calls. During her lunch break, she visits her boyfriend, Professor Clay Dalton, and gives him a special coin she found. But when Christine overhears Clay's mom trying to set him up with another girl, she feels like she's not good enough for the job or the guy she loves. Back at work, Christine sees Stu bribing Mr. Jax with Lakers tickets. Later, an old gypsy woman named Mrs. Ganoush comes in, begging for more time to pay her mortgage. Christine, trying to prove herself, cruelly denies her request. Desperate, Mrs. Ganoush begs and kisses Christine's skirt, but Christine panics and pushes her away, calling for security. As Mrs. Ganesh is thrown out, Mr. Jax praises Christine, hinting that if she closes one more big loan, the promotion will be hers. What a roller coaster of emotions. After getting a pat on the back from Mr. Jax for handling the tough situation with Mrs. Ganoush, Christine is thrilled. He tells her she's almost got the promotion, but she needs to finalize one tricky loan. Happy with the good news, Christine heads to her car with her file and some office supplies, but as she's about to leave, she notices Mrs. Ganoush's car parked right across from hers. Suddenly, Mrs. Ganoush's scarf gets blown onto Christine's windshield, scaring her. When she turns around, Mrs. Ganoush is right there, and they start fighting. Christine manages to lock Mrs. Ganoush outside her car and shouts, "I beat you!" But Mrs. Ganoush isn't done yet. She smashes the car window with a cinder block, drags Christine out, and takes a button from her coat. After muttering a creepy spell, she hands the button back and vanishes into thin air. What a shocking turn of events. The police come to check out the scary scene, and Christine's boyfriend Clay arrives to drive her home. On the way, Christine hears a weird whispering and decides she wants to get her fortune told. Clay doesn't really believe in fortune tellers, but they stop to see one named Ram Jazz. Ram agrees to read Christine's fortune for $60, but during the session, he looks really freaked out and ends it early. He tells Christine he knows about the button, which makes her trust him a bit more. Clay drives Christine home and leaves to grab something from his office. At home alone, Christine bakes a cake and plays with her kitten while waiting for Clay. She finds an old photo of herself from a dessert contest when she was very overweight and throws it away, trying to focus on baking. Suddenly, the lights go out, and Christine is left alone in the dark. She hears her gate creaking and sees a creepy goat's head shadow on the wall, which throws her into the cabinets and hurts her a little. When Clay gets back, he thinks Mrs. Ganoush might have attacked Christine again, but Christine says no one was there, so they call a psychologist. The psychologist says that after an attack, people often relive past fears. Christine calms down, and they go to bed. That night, she has a disturbing dream about a fly and Mrs. Ganoush attacking her, which makes her wake up screaming. Clay is worried, but Christine insists it was just a bad dream and goes to work. At work, Stu approaches Christine and asks her about the loan rules. As she starts to explain, she suddenly remembers Mrs. Ganesh's visit and gets really upset. Mr. Jax comes over to help, but then Christine gets a bloody nose that turns into a terrible nosebleed, spraying blood everywhere and even covering Mr. Jax. Christine panics and leaves the bank, leaving everyone confused and worried. While no one is watching, Stu sneaks over and steals the important files for the big loan Christine is working on. Christine decides to visit Mrs. Ganoush's granddaughter, using the address she found in Ganoush's papers. At first, the granddaughter doesn't want to let her in, but Christine says she wants to make things right. Reluctantly, the granddaughter lets her in and tells her to go down the hall to the left. Christine walks into a room where a group of gypsies is having a wake for Mrs. Ganoush. She accidentally trips and falls onto Ganoush's body, causing it to roll and splash embalming fluid all over her face. The granddaughter, looking angry, tells Christine that she deserves whatever happens next. Christine goes back to see Ram for help. Ram tells her that a scary demon called the Lamia is coming for her. He explains that Mrs. Ganoush cursed a button from Christine's coat, and now the Lamia will come in 3 days to take the soul of whoever has the button. Ram suggests that making a sacrifice might convince the Lamia to leave her alone. He gives Christine a book about animal sacrifices, but she refuses to do it. Ram warns her, "You'll be surprised at what you might do when the Lamia comes for you." When Christine gets home, she is scared by the shadow shadow of the Lamia, the demon. The shadow attacks her, throwing her around the room and banging her against the walls. It finally hurls Christine into her dresser. Terrified, Christine grabs a kitchen knife and calls out for her kitten. Christine is burying her dead kitten when Clay arrives. He notices blood on her arm, but Christine says everything is fine. They head to Clay's parents' house for dinner. Christine brings a harvest cake she learned to make when she grew up on a farm. Clay's mom acts a bit rude, but Christine shows her smarts and shares some tough parts of her past. She talks about how she doesn't see her mother anymore because after her father died, her mother became an alcoholic and shut everyone out. Clay's mom is impressed because her own father was an alcoholic too, and she never told anyone. As they eat the cake, Christine starts to see an eyeball in hers. She stabs it, and it bleeds, then pretends to eat a piece of cake. Suddenly, she coughs up a fly from her dream, which grosses out Clay's parents, who think there are flies in the cake. To make things worse, the Lamia starts banging on the door, making Christine panic. She runs out, and Clay tries to follow, but his parents say he can't help her because she's ill. Christine goes back to see Ram Jazz, who tells her there's someone who can help her fight the Lamia, but they will only do it for $10,000. Christine rushes to sell everything valuable she owns, but only gets $3,500. She then asks Mr. Jax for an advance on the assistant manager position to get the money, but he tells her the loan she was working on didn't go through because another bank made a better offer. He says he'll need to investigate and gives the assistant manager job to Stu instead. Upset, Christine leaves the office and goes home. Clay comes home to find Christine eating a pint of ice cream in the kitchen. He tells her that as soon as he realized he loved her, he promised he would do anything to protect her, so he paid the $10,000 for the help she needs. Clay drives Christine to Sean Sandina's house, and Christine goes inside alone. Sean says they need to do a seance to bring the Lamia, the demon, into the physical world so they can kill it. Sean's helper brings in a goat to trap the Lamia. Sean explains that once he gets possessed, Christine must place her hand on the goat to pull the Lamia out. Sean, Ram, Christine, and the helper start the seance and use a spell to call the demon, but instead of the Lamia, they summon a bunch of lost souls. Sean quickly sends them away but realizes the Lamia is coming. The Lamia possesses Sean and speaks to them, saying it will drag Christine to hell and eat her soul. Christine grabs Sean's hand and forces it onto the goat. The Lamia gets furious and starts screaming. The helper tries to use a machete to kill the demon, but the Lamia moves quickly and the machete misses, biting the helper instead. Christine rushes to help the assistant, but he has become the new host for the Lamia. The demon starts mocking Christine, and a small fight breaks out. Ram gets knocked out by a chair, and Sean is in a trance. The Lamia makes flames appear and dances on the table. It says it doesn't want Christine's cat, then spits it out and throws it at her. It taunts Christine, saying it will enjoy feasting on her soul. Sean snaps out of his trance and uses a powerful spell to try and banish the Lamia, but Sean dies right after, and Christine feels it's ironic that Sean waited 40 years to defeat the demon, only to die on his last night alive. Ram interrupts her, saying the Lamia isn't truly banished, and that Sean's death shows nothing can stop it. He tells Christine that the Lamia is coming for the person who has the cursed button, and that her only hope is to give the button away as a gift. Ram puts the button in an envelope and explains that whoever she gives it to will be cursed to hell. He didn't tell her this earlier because he didn't want to help her send someone to hell. Christine gets into Clay's car and tells him that everything is over. As they drive, they almost hit an old man who looks like Mrs. Ganush to Christine. The old man tells Christine that she's going to hell. Christine drops the envelope with the button, and Clay's bag spills papers all over it. She panics because she can't find the envelope, but grabs one with a circular shape inside. Clay drops Christine off at home and tells her to meet him at the train station so they can go to his parents' cabin. Christine goes to an all-night diner, drinks a lot of coffee, and tries to decide who to give the button to. She calls Stu and threatens to tell Mr. Jax that Stu gave the loan papers to another bank unless he meets her. Stu agrees to meet her and pleads with her not to tell Mr. Jax. Christine almost gives him the button but then changes her mind. Christine asks Ram if she can transfer the cursed object to someone who is dead. Ram says that while gypsies usually put good luck wishes on the dead, formal offerings can be made, so the answer is yes. Christine drives to the cemetery, digs up Mrs. Ganush, and makes a formal offering. She shoves the envelope with the button into Ganush's mouth. As rain starts to fill the grave with mud, Christine almost drowns, but manages to get out in time. The next morning, Christine meets Clay at Los Angeles Union Station. They're planning a relaxing weekend in Santa Barbara. Christine is wearing a beautiful new coat and walks up to Clay. Clay is on the platform, checking his ring box and getting ready to propose. He notices her new coat and asks what happened to the old one. Christine says she threw it out, but before she can explain more, Clay gives her an envelope with the button. She had accidentally dropped the button in his car the night before and picked up a similar envelope with a rare coin inside. Christine is horrified and panics. She backs away from Clay and falls onto the train tracks. As Clay shouts for help, the ground around Christine starts to crack. Demonic arms reach out out and drag her down as the train approaches. Clay can only watch in terror as Christine is pulled screaming into the ground. The train roars past, and Clay is left frozen and tearful, holding the button and staring at the spot where Christine was dragged to her death. Which movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more movie recaps. Thanks for watching.